सभाकल्पतरुं वन्दे वेदशाखोपजीवितं शास्त्रपुष्पसमायुक्तं विद्वद्भ्रमरशोभितं नमस्तभायै. Very good morning. We cordially invite you to the first international conference of ISS 2013. Now we are going to start the inaugural session. I request all the participants to please come to the hall. Professor K.C. Upadhyay ji has kindly consented, has given his consent to be the chairperson of this inaugural session. I request Professor K.C. Upadhyay ji to come over the dais to occupy his seat. Mrs. Madhavi Pandey ji will offer the floral welcome. Now I would like to invite Professor P.B. Sharma ji, Vice Chancellor, Degree Technological University, is the guest of honor. And Madhavi ji will offer the floral welcome. Now I would like to invite Professor Ramanath Sharma ji, University of Hawaii, Honolulu, USA. Professor Sharma sir is the keynote speaker today. Please occupy your seat on the dais, sir. Madhavi ji. Another keynote speaker, Dr. Rajiv Malhotra from USA, unfortunately he has not come. He is here in Delhi, but due to his sickness, he could not able to participate in the session. That he just has conveyed us now. With this, I would like to invite Dr. Ramnath Pandey ji to continue the session. Thank you. Give the mic to the chairperson. They will conduct the proceedings.
अभी क्या करना है इसके बाद?
नहीं, आप सभी एक बार ट्रस्ट की तरफ से वेलकम करके उसके बाद चेयरमैन साहब को दे दीजिए.
Now, I am very pleased to welcome to all of you in the international conference of ISIS 2013. On the behalf of the Secretary of Dr. Paramit Sastry, the organizer of the conference, I welcome to our chairman of this opening ceremony, Professor K.C. Upadhyay. Professor K.C. Upadhyay is a renowned scientist of life science. He is the former professor of life science in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and he was Vice Chancellor of Maharaja Sayaji Rao University, Baroda. And at present, he is working as a director in MET University of Biotechnology. And our distinguished guest of honor, Professor P.B. Sharma, is the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technological University, that is well known Delhi School of Engineering. So, and then Professor Ramanath Sharma, he is the keynote speaker and well known in the Indology, field of the Indology, and his specialization is the linguistic, Sanskrit grammar, and he has worked on the Panini Ashtadhyay, and in the 6th volume, published in 6 volumes, I think Munshilal Manoharlal, and then he is working on the Kashika, that is also going to be published, and there are many papers on Panini, and beyond this, he is the son of the famous scholar and great scholar Professor Pandit Raghunath Sharma. And I think that the most of the old scholars at present, they are directly or indirectly related to Pandit Raghunath Sharma. So, now I request to Professor A.P. Mishra to give introduction about, in detail, in brief, not very detailed, but in brief, about Professor P.V. Sharma, who is the Vice Chancellor of DT University.
Thank you very much, all of you. I am grateful that I was asked to introduce Professor P.V. Sharma as a Delhi Technical University Vice Chancellor. It is our honor to state, in Delhi during the British period, the first Vice Chancellor of Delhi University was Dr. Sir Hari Singh Gaur, who took birth in Madhya Pradesh, and he became the first Vice Chancellor of the Delhi University. When the Technical University question arises before the state government of Delhi, it was decided the first Vice Chancellor of the Delhi Technical University should be from Madhya Pradesh. I am known to Professor P.V. Sharma when we were together in Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and thereafter it was decided that he should be the first Vice Chancellor of the Delhi Technical University. And not only technocrat, he is a mechanical engineer and he did a very good work, renowned work in the world. Nowadays, the United States is searching about the uncertainty. He is the first person in the world who wrote a first paper in 1988, published from the United States, along with his research scholar, Mr. Sethi and Sharma, which name of the paper is Uncertainty in Heat Turbine. I was lucky that I was along with him in 2004, and I told him this uncertainty cannot be solved by the old technology of the 17th century. We would have to march up till 20th century. So Professor P.V. Sharma is the first person in the world who wrote a paper on uncertainty in heat turbine. Thereafter, I will let you know that Dr. Hari Singh Gaur, the first Vice Chancellor of the Delhi University, and P.V. Sharma, he also took birth in Madhya Pradesh, Vidisha, and Hari Singh Gaur took birth in Sagar. Hari Singh Gaur was the first Vice Chancellor of three universities, Delhi University and Nagpur University and Sagar University. Sagar University is the name of Dr. Hari Singh Gaur University. Professor P.V. Sharma has established two universities, Rajiv Gandhi Technical University Bhopal, and the second one is our Delhi Technical University. The third one, you can say, I am expecting where he is going now from Delhi. And anyway, it makes no difference on him. He is a scholar in engineering science. So this is his brief introduction. Now we will hear from his views about this logic and other things. And I am surprised a technocrat can be, you will hear all these things. Actually, he is a technocrat. And his qualification, just like to resemble with the Dr. Hari Singh Gaur. Hari Singh got the scholarship from 1 rupees, then 2 rupees. Thereafter he got Cambridge. Professor P.V. Sharma also got the scholarship since he was in 8th class. And thereafter he went to Bikram University, Ujjain. He was a lecturer there. He got the scholarship and he taught all from 8th to onward. In Birangam University he taught the engineering science. From there he did the PhD. So these two persons who took birth in Madhya Pradesh have the same type of the birthplace and working place also. So I request Professor P.V. Sharma.
Now, the main keynote address, I invite Professor Ramanath Sharma, University of Hawaii, to give the today keynote address on the ancient Indian wisdom and modern world. And I request him, there is no war of the language. He is the expert. He can speak in English. He can speak in Sanskrit. He can speak in Hindi, because our program is being web telecast to all over the world. So keeping that view, we must express our feelings in the language of English. That should be given preference, because this is the international conference and our program is being telecast. There are many 4,000 participants of the other countries in this conference. They are watching this telecast.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey, and the audience, Dr. Sharma. All these people, scholars who are assembled here, I'm supposed to be talking on the ancient Indian wisdom and the modern perspectives. I'm given half an hour. I find it, or rather I find myself in a precarious situation. What can you say in half an hour? So I'll have to find my own ways of not going into the worlds that will make things a little worse for the audiences to understand. I would rather speak in terms which make things clear to you, you understand whatever little bit you can understand. That's my goal, because this is what I can do in half an hour. As far as the language goes, you can see very easily, I have lived in the United States for the last 45 years. I have published 10,000 pages in English. So for me, speaking in English is a piece of cake. For the audience, I was somewhat worried that the audience may not get my message if it's delivered in English. So, that's when I offered the choice of Hindi, but I'll try to speak in English and just find my way that you could hear me correctly as expressed. आप ये क्या आ रहा है? That's very nice. Thank you. So, here I go. Purnamada Purnavidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This Purna is Purna when you take the spill out of this Purna, that remains Purna, and this is what we are going to be talking about. The wisdom that could be characterized as Purna. There are a couple of things I would like to explain before I get into the particulars. The Indian tradition of thoughts has a very well-defined perspectives. And that perspective is the perspective of eternality. Whatever has been stated, whatever has been discussed, is discussed in the frame of eternality. Nityatva, nityata. But there are two aspects of nityatva, eternality. One is called kutastha nityata, Another one is called Pravaha Nityata. It's important to understand the Indian mind, the traditional mind, and the traditional wisdom, the traditional thoughts which are expressed. It is important to understand this perspective of eternality. So, Kutastha Nityata is fixed, immobile, not moving, not born, not decaying. In other words, this is Kutastha, fixed, not moving, etc. Obviously, not born or non-decaying. The another aspect is Pravaha Nityata. What is Pravaha Nityata? Pravaha Nityata is, as the name suggests, is eternality in the flow. In the flow of what? It has not been stated clearly in the literature what this flow is exactly as. Look at the river. The river has two banks, and the water flows within those two banks. So let's consider that this eternality flows in two edges within are marked with two. What are those two? It has not been stated very clearly in the literature what those two are, but it is hinted at by Patanjali, the Bhashyakara, and that is eternality in the flow of time and space. Desha and Kala are the banks within which this eternality flows, and this is called Pravaha Nitya. So, Kutastha Nitya is Nitya, Pravaha Nitya is also Nitya, but it is in the space and time perspective. Consider Ganga. Ganga is Nitya, but Ganga is Pravaha Nitya. That is why, under the rule Bhuvaha Prabhavaha of the Ashtadhyayi, the Bhashyakara Patanjali defines the word Prabhava. Prabhava is not origin, not birth. So you cannot say Himalayat Ganga Prabhavati, Ganga is born or Ganga originates in the Himalaya, but he defines Prabhava as Prathamam Darshanam. Is the first viewing of Ganga that you have at Gangotri or whatever is the point that Ganga comes out. So Prathama Darshana does not mean Ganga didn't exist prior to that first viewing. So this is the Pravaha Nityata. So you have to remember that whatever knowledge has been expressed in the Indian tradition that has these two perspectives. We talk about parampara. What is parampara? It is the nityatva of time and space. That is parampara. What is history? When you exactly define time, time is also nitya. You have to remember, our tradition considers time as nitya. But the time that we talk about on the streets, at homes, etc., that's the temporal time. So when Pravaha Nityata is defined, or when you put a label on the time 6th century BC, for example, Buddha's time, Parini's time is 5th BC, Patanjali is 2nd BC, and then Ashoka and all that. What is that time? That's history. So when Pravaha Nitya gets the label, when the parampara goes under the label of history, it becomes history. It no longer can be called parampara. Take, for example, Srishti. There is a long discussion about Srishti in the Rig Veda. And it begins with the Nasadiya Sukta. Those who are scholars of Sanskrit, those who know, the Rig Veda talks about, or in the Nasadiya, you have a big discussion. I did a big paper for you. And like the Nasadiya talks about Nasadasin, no sadasi, tadanim, nasid rajo, no vyoma paroyat, kimavari vah, kuhakasya sharman, nambah, kimasadbhi gahanam gabiram. There existed no being, nor did any non-being then, no air, no sky beyond that. What was that which covered, and what and where, under whose protection, and waves there that deep, unfathomable water? So, immortality was not there, life was not there, there was no light, there was no darkness, there was no unfathomable water. All this pratishedha, negation. There are two types of negations in Sanskrit. One is the prasajya pratishedha and another one is the paryudasa pratishedha. You have to interpret the Nasadiya with paryudasa interpretation. What is the paryudasa interpretation? Paryudasa interpretation is similar to but different from what is negated. Take for example, abrahmanoyam, and in the grammatical literature you get this example oft quoted. Abrahmanoyam jastishthan mutrayati. ये ब्राह्मण नहीं है खड़ा होकर पेशाब कर रहा है. अब्राह्मणोयम यस्तिष्ठन मूत्रयति. तो वो अब्राह्मण, अगर वो अब्राह्मण है, ब्राह्मण नहीं है, तो क्या है? तो पर्युदास इंटरप्रिटेशन में ये नहीं हो सकता कि वो शक है, हूण है, इस्लाम है या कोई अन्यत्र है. वो हिंदू ही होगा, क्योंकि सादृश्य की बात उठती है ना, ब्राह्मण के साथ सादृश्य होना चाहिए, तो वो हिंदू ही होगा. इसके बाद वो क्षत्रिय होगा, वैश्य होगा. ये संस्कार के साम्य के आधार पर ये जो है वो निर्णय किया जाएगा. तो कहने का तात्पर्य ये है कि पर्युदास इंटरप्रिटेशन में देयर वाज नथिंग, देयर वाज नो लाइट, देयर वाज नो लाइफ, येट देयर वाज समथिंग व्हिच वाज सिमिलर टू बट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम. This is how the background has been set in the Nasadiya Sukta for the development of. And then there was light, there was, for example, when they talk about Hiranyagarbha, and then there is the floating, the floating egg. Now, obviously, the Anda could not float unless there was water, unless there was wind to propel it to flow, etc., etc. What happens here is that there is one very, very abstract level where the Nasadiya is talking about the germs of Srishti. What was there was only the wish, Kalite ekoham vahushyama, and then that wish had the basis of tapas. And then there was Swadha, which later on you will see can be discipline yoga. So how things happen in the Indian tradition is you have the most abstract level, then there is a somewhat concrete level, then after that you have the Sthula, like the Brahma is talked about, the Sukshma, Sukshmatara and Sthula. Similarly, when you come to Purusha Sukta, you get, it's a very famous line that talks about Yajnena Yajnam Ayajanta Deva Tani Dharmani Prathamanyasan. This is the dharma. Remember, the dharma of the Rig Veda is neuter. Tani Dharmani Prathamanyasan. But when Shankaracharya talks about dharma, he says, Esha Vediko Dharma. So our dharma of the classical Sanskrit is masculine. Why the Rig Veda's dharma is neuter? Why the dharma of the Purusha Sukta, dharma of the classical Sanskrit is masculine? There is a certain degree. When you pursue dharma and you accomplish dharma, that dharma is masculine. But this abstract dharma, which is the concept, notion, etc., that is neuter. Then there is, so this identifies another aspect of representation of knowledge in the Indian tradition. That aspect is from Sukshma, Sukshmatara, Sthula. It's a system of the representation of ideas is made in the system of symbols, pratikas. You are familiar with the tikas of the Sanskrit grammarians or literature. What they do, they take a pratika. Unless they take a pratika, they cannot move. And this is happening everywhere. So these are the two perspectives within which the Indian mind has expressed thoughts. Now, I would like to move, because I have already taken 15 minutes. So, I am a grammarian, and I would like to see how the things that I just told you, the two perspectives, one of Nityata and another one of the pratikas, the symbolism from the Sukshma to Sukshmatara to Sthula, how that is reflected in grammar. That is also some research that I have done, and what I'm going to express to you is completely new. No one has said that. It doesn't mean that our tradition has not said that. The tradition has it. There is no question that our tradition has left unanswered. What we have to do is, because our questions are different, our answers are different. We expect different answers to those questions. The tradition, whenever they posed their questions, they did not have our questions in mind. So, and when they answered those questions, they didn't have the answers that we expect in their mind. So our problem is, or our task is, to find the questions and their answers which we have now in modern days, modern science, modern grammar, linguistics. Let's go find answers to our questions. And this is what I have done. So, coming back to grammar. What is grammar? Grammar is, Patanjali says, Shabdanusasana, instruction of words. Kesham Shabdanam, of what words? He says, Laukika Nam Vedika Nam Cha, of the Laukika Sanskrit and the Vedika. And then he raises the question, how should the instruction of word be carried out? And there he takes a pratika. Remember, I was talking about the pratikas? And he says, pratika of pratipadapatha. Let me tell you, when they talk about the pratikas, they take some arthavakyas as a focus. In the analysis of the Veda, expression of the Vedic thoughts, there were arthavakyas in the Rig Veda. Similarly, there are arthavakyas in grammar. The grammar developed at a time of intellectual development in the tradition which is called the Sutra period. It is no accident that we call that period the Sutra period. You know, we have the Sankhya Sutra, the Griha Sutra, the Dharma Sutra, the Yoga Sutra, all kinds of sutras, including the Vyakarana Sutras. I'm talking about the Vyakarana Sutras. So, Arthavakya, Patanjali says that how should we study grammar? How should it be taught, the instruction? So he said, we are not going to accept a pratipada patha, taking each and every word out and then teaching that about that word. Because Brihaspati Indraya Divyam Varsahasram Pratipadoktanam Padanam Parayanam Provasya Nantam Jagama. There was a student like Indra, teacher like Brihaspati. They started taking Pratipadapatha, taking each and every word, and they went on doing this for 1,000, not our years, heavenly years. What was the result? Nantam Jagama. They couldn't find the... And then Patanjali quipped. Kim Adyatve. What to talk about these days? Yah sarvatha chiram jivati sa varsha satam jivati. जो बहुत जीता है 100 वर्ष तक जिएगा, इससे ज्यादा नहीं जिएगा. तो इसलिए अनभ्युपाय प्रतिपदोक्ता नाम पदा नाम पारायणम, ये जो उपाय है प्रतिपद पाठ का, ये बेकार है. तब उन्होंने कहा कि भाई तब क्या किया जाए? तो उन्होंने कहा किंचित सामान्य विशेषव लक्षणम प्रवर्त्यम जे नाल्पेन यत्नेन महतो महता शब्दौघान प्रतिपद्येरन, कि भाई कुछ सामान्य विशेष नियम बनाइए और उन नियमों के आधार पर आप जो है वो शब्दों का ज्ञान दीजिए. तो वही नियम जो है वो व्याकरण के सूत्र हैं. लगभग 4000 सूत्रों की संरचना पाणिनि ने की. तो अब 5 मिनट में आपको बताता हूं कि व्याकरण साहित्य क्या है. अगर आपसे कोई पूछे कि व्याकरण साहित्य क्या है, आई एम सॉरी. सो व्याकरण सूत्र जो हैं, व्याकरण साहित्य क्या है? तो ये प्रतीकवादी परंपरा है हमारे व्याकरण साहित्य की. जहां होता क्या है, शुरू में पतंजलि ने कहा है कि ये इंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ वर्ड्स है. शब्द जो है वो फोकस है उसका, और शब्द को फोकस में लाकर पाणिनि ने सूत्रों की रचना की. ये पाणिनि सूत्र जो है उनका प्रतीक ये शब्द है. मैं वहां नहीं जाऊंगा कि शब्द की परिभाषा क्या है. बस आप यही समझ लीजिए कि शब्द जो है वो अटरेंस है, शब्द वर्ड नहीं है. इस पर ध्यान दीजिए आप. तो हमारा व्याकरण साहित्य जो है वो शब्द को प्रतीक मानता है, पाणिनि के सूत्रों के माध्यम से उसकी शिक्षा दी जाती है, और यही पाणिनि की अष्टाध्यायी जो है वो हमारे लिए व्याकरण है। अब आगे बढ़िए, भाष्यकार आते हैं पतंजलि। तो कहते हैं कि ये अध्ययन जो शब्दों का होता है वो जो है नहीं सूत्रादेव, सूत्र से ही शब्द समझे नहीं जा सकते। तो क्या होना चाहिए? व्याख्यान होना चाहिए। तो यदि पाणिनि भी पढ़ाते होंगे व्याकरण को तो वो क्या करते होंगे? वो जैसे इको यणचि सूत्र है, तो जब हम समझाते हैं इको यणचि को तो हमको कहा जाता है कि कस्थाने यण स्यात् अचि संहितायाम, संहिता के विषय में अच परे हो तो इक के स्थान में यण होता है, यही अर्थ बताया जाता है। तो इको यणचि से ये अर्थ जो है कैसे निकलता है ये बात की बात है, लेकिन इस अर्थ के बिना आप इको यणचि को समझ नहीं सकते। तो इसे कहा गया वृत्ति। तो शब्द को फोकस मानकर सूत्र साहित्य डेवलप हुआ। सूत्रों के विशेष ज्ञान के लिए, अर्थ ज्ञान के लिए हमने वृत्ति साहित्य की रचना की, और तब आए कात्यायन। उन्होंने वृत्ति को फोकस मानकर वार्तिक लिखे, और तब आए पतंजलि जिन्होंने व्याख्यान दिया। तो व्याख्यान क्या है? उदाहरणम प्रत्युदाहरणम एतत् समुदितम व्याख्यानम भवति। उदाहरण है, प्रत्युदाहरण है, उनको लेकर के, लेकिन वो फोकस व्याकरण वो प्रातिपदिक ही था, वो कात्यायन के वार्तिक थे। तो कात्यायन के वार्तिकों को लेकर के फोकस में, और उन्होंने भाष्य जो है अपना लिखा। यहां मैं बता देना चाहता हूं कि भाष्य का एक संगठनात्मक या संरचनात्मक रूप है। भाष्य की एक परंपरा थी, उसमें ये नहीं है कि पतंजलि ने जो है ऐसे ही उसको लिख दिया, नहीं, उसमें एक स्ट्रक्चर है। जिस तरह से अष्टाध्यायी की रचना का स्ट्रक्चर है, उसी तरह से भाष्य की भी रचना का एक स्तर है, एक संगठनात्मक जो है उसका स्वरूप है, और उसका भी अध्ययन होना चाहिए। खैर, अभी मैं इतना ही कहूंगा कि कात्यायन के वार्तिकों को ध्यान में रखकर सूत्रों को पर व्याख्यान है पाणिनि का, पतंजलि का महाभाष्य। तो वो करते क्या हैं? उदाहरण लेते हैं, प्रत्युदाहरण लेते हैं, और इसके बाद अंत में जाकर के वो सिद्धांत देते हैं कि यही सही है, यही होना चाहिए। तो वो जो सिद्धांत है उसको लेकर सिद्धांत साहित्य विकसित हुआ व्याकरण में। भर्तृहरि का वाक्यपद ये जो है वो सिद्धांत ग्रंथ है, और भर्तृहरि ने स्वयं कहा है, कृतेथ पतंजलिना गुरुणा तीर्थदर्शिना सर्वेषां न्याय बीजानाम भाष्य एवं निबंधने। उन्होंने कह दिया कि समस्त न्याय बीजों का जो संग्रह है वो भाष्य में ही है। इतनी श्रद्धा थी पतंजलि के ऊपर, इसलिए कि पतंजलि में से ही सिद्धांतों के बीज को लेकर सिद्धांत ग्रंथ लिखे गए। और उसके बाद हमारे यहाँ शुरू होती है 11वीं शताब्दी से शुरू होती है प्रक्रिया की परंपरा। धर्मकीर्ति का रूपावतार है, जिसने कम सूत्रों को लेकर के किसी विशेष क्रम में उसको लेकर के और हमको प्रक्रिया सिखलाने की कोशिश की, और उस प्रक्रिया परंपरा का सबसे उत्तम ग्रंथ जो है और वो है भट्टोजी दीक्षित का सिद्धांत कौमुदी। लेकिन यहां मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि भट्टोजी दीक्षित का सिद्धांत कौमुदी मात्र प्रक्रिया ग्रंथ नहीं है, बहुत ही प्रौढ़ ग्रंथ है, और इसीलिए तो कभी कभी लोग कहते हैं कि कौमुदी यदि ना आती वृथा भाष्ये परिश्रमः, कौमुदी यदि आयाति वृथा भाष्ये परिश्रमः। तो इस कोटि का सिद्धांत कौमुदी है। तो अब अंत में आइए, ये परंपरा कौमुदी की वरदराज की लघु कौमुदी तक आती है, वहीं ये सरस्वती जो है व्याकरण की सूख जाती है। तो ये हमारा व्याकरण साहित्य क्या है? शब्द को प्रतीक मानकर सूत्र लिखे गए। सूत्रों को बिना वृत्ति के समझा नहीं जा सकता था, इसलिए वृत्ति का साहित्य जो है हुआ। और हमें कोई भी संपूर्ण वृत्ति जो है वो काशिका वृत्ति के अलावा उपलब्ध नहीं है। पिछले 15 वर्षों से मैंने काशिका वृत्ति पर काम करना शुरू किया। अब वो काम समाप्त हो गया। अब वो उसके 3 खंड मैं समझता हूं कि अप्रैल मई तक आ जाएंगे अंग्रेजी में। उसके पहले मैंने अष्टाध्यायी का एक भाष्य का रूप में 6 वॉल्यूम्स का लिखा था, तो वो खत्म हुआ। तो इसके बाद मैंने काशिका को लिया, तो 15 वर्ष लगे। अब वो जो है वो कार्य समाप्त हो गया है। तो सूत्र शब्द को प्रतीक मानता है, वृत्ति सूत्र को प्रतीक मानती है, वार्तिक वृत्ति को प्रतीक मानता है, भाष्य जो है वार्तिक को प्रतीक मानता है, अपने सिद्धांत देता है। उन्हीं सिद्धांतों को लेकर सिद्धांत ग्रंथों की परंपरा है। भर्तृहरि का वाक्यपदीय जो है सबसे श्रेष्ठ सिद्धांत ग्रंथ है। और उसके बाद प्रक्रिया आती है जो रूपावतार धर्म कीर्ति से शुरू होती है, और वो प्रक्रिया कौमुदी से होते हुए सिद्धांत कौमुदी में अपना शीर्ष पाती वरदराज तक पहुंचते पहुंचते समाप्त हो जाती है। यही व्याकरण की परंपरा है। मेरा ख्याल है कि आधे घंटे से अधिक ही मैंने बोला होगा। तो यहां मैं समाप्त करना चाहता हूं कि आपकी आज्ञा से, और ज्ञान के बारे में आपको जो मिला मैंने तो छोड़ दिया कि वो शब्द तत्व है। भर्तृहरि का जो अनादि निधनम ब्रह्म सर्व शब्द तत्वम यद अक्षरम, और किस तरह से शब्द जो है वो शब्द में ज्ञान जो है अनुविद्ध है, जो प्राप्तिकारो इत्यादि जो है अनुकार जो हो मानते हैं ब्रह्म का। वेद जो है विवर्त है, वेद जो है वो अनुकार भी है। तो किस तरह से ये थॉट प्रोसेस डेवलप हुई है, समय अभाव के कारण मैं उसके बारे में नहीं बता सकता, लेकिन मैं समझता हूं यही विराम करूं। क्षातव्य जन, तो बंद करो ये। नहीं इसमें।
Thank you, Professor Ramanath Sharma, for a very good speech. Anuvidyam Jnanam Sarvam Sabdena Bhasyate. So he has given, he is the specialist of the word. Word is the very mean term regarding explaining Shabd in Sanskrit. So he is a scholar, well-known scholar, and his specialization on the subject. So we cannot interfere. And regarding the question or internal expression of the audience, they can individually ask him if any doubt. No, I am not telling the interference. I am not telling. If internal expression, I am telling internal expression. If you are having any kind of internal expression.
I didn't take any of this question. No, I enjoyed that question. But,
because this is not right place to ask the question.
I just took a shortcut.
And now, because now our guest of honor, Professor P.B. Sharma, actually, I do apologize for that. I should call him first because he told me that I want to leave and he is on the valuable post and he has so many assignments, valuable assignments. But because this is the function, so this is the function on the ancient Indian wisdom and modern thought, so I thought that his presence is must for the keynote address. That's why I offered the mic to Professor Ramanath Sharma. So now I offer the mic to Professor P.B. Sharma for giving the guest of honor speech.
Give me the mic just for 3 more minutes. Yes, sir. Modern usage. The computers are flying the planes. Parani is being studied these days in artificial intelligence. So basically the question is, what can the grammar of a natural language written with natural intelligence contribute towards the development of the artificial language, artificial intelligence, and then the artificial language like Java. I forgot to tell you that these days the derivational system, the derivational history, जैसे मान लीजिए हम लोग कौंदी पढ़ते थे तो हमको ये कहा जाता कि पचती की सिद्धि करो, पचती की सिद्धि करो, तो कहते पचती की सिद्धि करना कितना आसान है, पच धातु लो, भूआदि धातुओं से धातु संज्ञा करो, धातुओं के अधिकार में जाओ, वर्तमान में लट लगाओ, लस्य तिप्त जी कर्ता जी शप लगाओ, पचती सिद्ध हो गया. इतना आसान नहीं है. इसलिए आसान नहीं है कि ये जो ब्लैक बॉक्स है कंप्यूटर, इसको आपको सिखाना पड़ेगा. उसको आप सिखाइए कि 131 भूआदेव धातुओं से 3191 धातुओं से 32123 वर्तमान में लट 347778 लस्य तिप्त जी से 3168 में कर्ता ऋषभ में कैसे लौट के आओगे, तो ये बताना पड़ेगा. मैंने यही काम किया है बताते हुए 3500 से अधिक सिद्धियां मैंने की है और मेरी स्पेशलिटी यही है कि मैं इस मशीन को बताऊं कि कैसे तुम डिराइव करो. थैंक यू.
Dr. Ramanath Pandey, Professor Ramnath Sharma ji, Professor Upadhyay, learned scholars, ladies and gentlemen, let me at the outset express my profound happiness in being with you here this morning, especially that the theme you have chosen for this first international conference relates to India's ancient wisdom and its relevance to the modern world. People like me are no match to what Dr. Ramanath Sharma is, primarily because I am not a scholar of Sanskrit, nor I am well versed with the grammar of Sanskrit to the extent that one would be able to write a doctoral thesis on Panini's grammar. But nevertheless, coming from Madhya Pradesh, as Dr. O.P. Misra has informed you, I was inspired to take Sanskrit and its studies, especially of India's Vedic literature, far more seriously than would otherwise a student of science and engineering would take. And that's what I thought when Dr. Pandey invited me to be here. I thought it the right opportunity for me to vent out my mind, especially that the jewels of India's wisdom have suddenly become highly relevant in the modern world. The whole world today, in my opinion, is on the doorstep of India for finding lasting solutions for everlasting peace, for discovering that vital harmony between the people of the world, to understand a more profound meaning of globalization in the form of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, of the kind which was echoed from here by the Vedic seers and sages. And the whole world is also at the threshold at the moment to understand how to create the layers of prosperity by which you would be able to wipe out poverty, hunger, disease from the face of this Mother Earth, and at the same time ensure that prosperity does not lead to unhappiness of the kind which 20th century has presented before us. This is in fact the context in which the whole world is looking at India, or for that region the Indian subcontinent, some of the countries of Southeast Asia also included, because they are the natural heir of the profound Indian ancient wisdom which was propounded by our forefathers right from the Vedic times till today. And therefore, in my short address at this inaugural session, I thought let me share with you what I understand as the jewels of ancient India's wisdom. We in engineering and science know very well that wisdom is not information. Wisdom is not also just knowledge. But when knowledge and information is synthesized, analyzed, characterized, and in fact a profound understanding is obtained through this analysis and synthesis, there emerges the profound wisdom which can then be capsuled in a miniaturized form and presented before the vast humanity as the jewel of the wisdom. And if we look at this concept, for our India's ancient wisdom, we come across some of very important jewels of India's wisdom. One of them has been pronounced by Dr. Ramanath Sharma himself. He began very well by presenting before you the concept of Purna, which was the central to the conception of Indian mind, ancient Indian mind, to understand the very unity in this vast diversity. The world around presents magnificent diversity. But to understand that this entire diversity has a unifying force which connects everybody, whether you are humans, animals, any species, or even a living or non-living organism, there is something which connects this entire diversity. This jewel of India's wisdom was presented in the form of the concept of the Purna. The Vedic Upanishad, the most pronounced in fact, shloka of the Ishopanishad, unfortunate part it is that we in India often pronounce it when we are sending somebody back to Godhead. That means by putting him on fire, at that time we chant Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamevaya Purnameva Vashishyate. But really speaking, this is the first jewel of India's profound wisdom, which created the basic platform on which the university of this vast diversity was discovered, and the hotline of connectivity between man and the Creator was established through the concept of the Atman, which became central to put together this whole humanity and the entire creation as in fact one and only one. And therefore the oneness which the world is looking forward in this vast diversity of nations cutting across national and demographic boundaries, in my opinion, can only be better understood and appreciated by coming across this very profound understanding of the Purna, the concept of the Atman, through which the whole humanity could be put together into one brotherhood for a common cause, to create a world in which we shall live not merely happily, but we shall live in the company of the divinity and will work for divinity till the last breath of our life. And therefore, this is, in my opinion, very important for us today to echo to the world community that the ancient India's profound wisdom is based on the concept of the Purna, which gave rise to the profound understanding of the basic concept of Atmana. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmanev anupashyati sarvabhuteshu cha atmanam tato na bijuguptase is such an eloquent and bold exposition which we find both in the Bhagavad Gita as well as in our Upanishads. And it is through this oneness of the Atman the whole world can be put together in a family where we would be able to put at rest the entire terrorism and the enmity which currently prevails in the world around. The second point which I thought is important for us to understand that the profound and bold exposition of India's ancient wisdom was propounded in the form of Satya. We are a nation where the entire Upanishad is devoted to the concept of truth. Nowhere in the world people talk about truth as much and as profoundly as we have in our ancient Vedic times. We not only said Satyameva Jayate, we even said Satyameva Jayate Nanratam, which means the untruth can never ever overpower the power of truth. And today I think in this world, Satyameva Jayate Nanratam Satyene Pantha Yatato Devyana becomes the torchlight for the humanity to discover those pathways by which the layers of prosperity and happiness are to be discovered together. It is therefore important for us from this platform of the International Conference on Ancient India's Wisdom, it is important for us to re-establish the faith of the humanity in the concept of truth, not merely per se to say and keep it as an emblem on the back, but to practice it in our every breath of life till the last breath and work consciously with the understanding that it is the truth and truth alone that can create, in fact, in man that vital manifestation of the divinity for which the man is created on this planet Mother Earth. It's very important for us today to echo this jewel of India's profound wisdom. We should also understand that the focus in India, and especially the India's ancient wisdom, has been on jnana. Jnana, in fact, what you call knowledge today in its normal interpretation, was not just an ordinary word, my friends. Remember what the Vedic seers have said. They made no IPR, they took no copyright of what they have deciphered as the truth of this creation put together in the form of the Vedas and thereafter the thoughts of Upanishad. For them, the knowledge already existed. This is what they say in the Vedas, that knowledge already exists. What we are really trying to do is to capture that knowledge by establishing that hotline of connectivity with the vast reservoir of knowledge and wisdom which is already there in this cosmos. They also said that you can't say that till Newton discovers the laws of gravity, the law of gravity would not exist. It exists, and that is why it has been discovered. Therefore, our Vedic seers made a very fundamental declaration at that time that what knowledge already exists. It is not something which you would like to say that I have discovered it and nobody ever knew. The trees knew much better than you, my friend. You can't say that as a human being. You have understood it better. Now look at the honesty with which and the fairness with which the Vedic seers have conceived this whole idea of knowledge being already there, but everybody cannot receive it. It's like the telecast which is currently going on through the Webnair can only be received by someone who has the necessary tools and gadgets to receive this telecast going from this international conference. And that is where I think the creation of capabilities in man were considered absolutely important. And therefore the context of jnana was, in my opinion, was so well stated by the Vedic seers right from the Vedic times until today, whether you like it or not. The proclamation which Lord Krishna has made in the famous Bhagavad Gita is, Nahi jnanen sadrashyam pavitra mahi vidyati. There is nothing more pure and pious than knowledge on this Mother Earth. This is what Lord Krishna has said. The purity and piousness is intrinsically associated with the cultivation of knowledge. Without purity of mind, purity of thoughts cannot emerge. Pure thoughts can only emerge from a pure mind. And therefore the emphasis was on purity for cultivation of knowledge. Today we do not talk about it in our universities, in our classrooms. We are scared to talk of purity to our students. They would think that you are talking like a pandit. They will mistake you as being a religious preacher. But fact remains that purity was the essential condition for the cultivation of knowledge. I am sure you fellows are far more scholarly than I am. You might remember and recollect what Nachiketa did in the Kathopanishad. He goes to Yamaraja to decode the secret of creation, to decode the secret of life and death through an intimate dialogue which took place between him and the Yamaraja. Today we are so scared of Yamaraja that we start shivering if somebody says Yamaraja coming. Now look at the boldness here by which Nachiketa deciphered the secret of life and death right from the horse's mouth, that is Yamaraja. But then the most important part of Kathopanishad, in my opinion, is the parting advice which Yamaraja gave to the Nachiketa. When Nachiketa was to return to Mother Earth, he cannot be retained there because his death point has not come. Yamaraja has not called him. He has come by his own desire. You can't retain him. That was the practice of dharma, even by what you call Yamaraja. Yamaraja, in my opinion, was practicing dharma in every single activity which was being pursued within his domain. So he said that you are going back to Mother Earth, and now you have decoded the secret of life and death. You have become one of the greatest scientists I could ever imagine. And therefore, there is a parting advice which I thought I should give you in the form of the Dikshantopdesha. And that parting advice was, Yastu Vigyanvan Bhavatu. Yastu Vigyanvan Bhavatu Manisha Sada Suchi. Which means, let you adore science and practice science and decode the secret of this Mother Earth and creation through your scientific explorations and engagements. But ensure that Mansa Sada Suchi, which means the purity of manas, the purity of mind, is retained all the time. Sada, the underlying word is sada, which means not just now and then, but every time, every moment, till the last breath of your life. That's the kind of parting advice was given. The emphasis on purity for cultivation of knowledge, in my opinion, was the essential condition to capture that vast body of knowledge of this universe which already exists. Then they built it up, that not mere knowledge is sufficient. You may be a jnani, so what? People will ask you. What can you do for me? They will ask you. You can chant mantras, you can chant sloka, you can even recite the Vedas and Upanishad. They will say, in what way they are going to help me? I want bread, I want butter, I want employment, I want to see this beautiful landscape being redone, I want to wipe out poverty, I want to wipe out disease from this Mother Earth. And therefore the context of jnana was immediately translated into what they call Vijnana. In fact, nowhere in the world, in the ancient literature, you will find the emphasis on jnana and Vijnana together. And here, in our ancient Indian wisdom, we find that they are overscoring the importance of integration of jnana and Vijnana. In the famous Bhagavad Gita, we find Jnana Vijnana Samahita Yajgyatya Sabimukhyate, which means only one who is able to integrate knowledge with science, what you call physical science, Vijnana, can only qualify to attain that vital level of immortality, which means oneness with God Almighty. Jnana Vijnana Samahita Yajgyatya cha Vimukhyate. That's the third jewel, in my opinion, of India's ancient wisdom, where integration of knowledge, called jnana in our tradition, is to be integrated with Vijnana. And what is Vijnana? Dr. Ramanath will correct me better. people like me always try to understand things in a very simpler form. I don't want to make it complicated. Otherwise, one by one, everybody will run away, especially the younger generation will run away. It's very important for us to reach out to them in the context in which we are going to present the concept of jnana and vijnana. If you look at jnana, Bhagavad Gita says, jnanam labdha param santi acharena adhigacchati. You can get eternal peace through jnana. A jnani does not discriminate between joy and sufferings. He remains tranquil. He remains samabuddhi, samasthita. He remains like a yogi for whom nothing disturbs, nothing makes him so excited that he starts jumping on his feet. But then when it comes to vijnana, the jnana, when it becomes vijnana, you have to use your buddhi and vivek. You have to use your buddhi and vivek alongside with the jnana which you have cultivated and received, and then start applying that jnana with buddhi and vivek to make it vijnana. So vijnana is nothing, in my opinion, other than application of this knowledge by applying your buddhi and vivek. And when you apply buddhi and vivek to the jnana which you possess, vijnana emerges out of it. And vijnana then creates the vital capabilities which we require to trade and transact in our work life and create bliss and happiness not only for ourselves but for the vast humanity. And this is what exactly vijnana is doing. But can vijnana alone create the kind of bliss which is the natural birthright of human beings? Or would it create untold misery and happiness alongside with the cultivation of science? That's the question. And that's where comes the integration of capabilities created by science with the human values of the kind which were so well prescribed alongside with ancient India's wisdom. And there, the emphasis on purity was one of the greatest value attached. A pure mind cannot indulge into actions which will destroy or cause suffering or unhappiness to anyone. Values of the kind which will ensure you to understand that you are not the superhuman being. You don't have a birthright to exploit the natural resources or this Mother Earth. Rather, you are to be the support system to the God Almighty to run and maintain this beautiful world in a manner that even Creator will say, what a man I have created. That was in fact necessitated, and that is why the emphasis on human values, scientific values and work ethics and professional morality was of the highest order. And we find that in our ancient Indian system, whenever there was a loss of values, loss of professional morality, loss of work ethics, India very badly suffered. It suffered to the extent that the entire ocean of humanity in India became helpless. It started praying that God Almighty, aap hi aiye, only you can really now bring back happiness and righteous order. ईश्वर को भुलाने के लिए हम लोग मजबूर हुए, और तब जाकर के भगवान राम आते हैं, तब जाकर भगवान कृष्ण आते हैं, और उन्हें तो अपना काम करना आता है. God cannot fail, but then at what cost? At the cost of Mahabharata, at the cost of war with Ravana. And we in India often remain spectators. I was looking at Mahabharata war from a close quarter because my Delhi Technological University is a place where Lord Krishna gathered with the Pandavas before going to Kurukshetra. That was the route. And he performed, in fact, the yagna there. He knew that these Pandavas, however intelligent and powerful they may be, but they may run short of values. They may take a U-turn from Kurukshetra and come back straight to Hastinapur or Indraprastha here. So the Lord said, I will come with you. Arjuna said, sir, not required. You can relax here. We will give you the good news within no time because we are so powerful that our sheer presence will make the Kauravas run away from the battlefield. It was not to happen. Lord knew it for certain. And you see, Lord goes there. He says, I will drive your chariot. Lord driving the chariot. It's like Lord Krishna coming saying, sir, I will drive your car. You are a vice chancellor. Sit on the back. And there the Lord performs his actions, participates and engages himself in that warfare without being physically attached to it. He knows for certain that if he is not there, And you see, in the very first site of the Kaurvaj, Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitamaha and the great warriors which assembled, Pandavas look back, there was nobody with them other than the 5 brothers, maybe Abhimanyu and Lord Krishna. You don't find anybody else supporting them. Not a single Indian vice chancellor, not a single Indian professor, not a single Indian doctor or engineer or a lawyer or a professional or a medical practitioner bent to support the Pandavas. This is what the country we are. Despite all the wisdom which we possess, really speaking, the war was singularly fought by the 5 Pandavas and Abhimanyu, and at the most with the infinite power of God Almighty's presence in that war, or else the victory would have been of other side. Arjuna would have said, I am giving you go by now. Let Kaurvaj rule, I don't want to fight. And they would have all returned by taking a U-turn. That's the context in which the loss of values takes place here. And the entire dialogue in the famous Bhagavad Gita is testimony of the kind of effort which Lord himself has to invest to resurrect the psychosis of a community which has derailed from the human values, work ethics, professional moralities of the kind which are called for from people of knowledge and people of wisdom. Well, let me finish by saying that in today's world we are looking for answers and solutions for the loss of professional morality, loss of work ethics, loss of integrity, and surely we are looking for capabilities of the kind to create that eternal bliss which is our birthright as human beings. How could that be done? And that is where the relevance of the ancient Indian thought has to be restated before the world community. And let the scientists, engineers, technologists, social reformers, medical practitioners, lawyers, and all professionals of the world, including our very friendly politicians, must understand what can India's ancient wisdom do to create that transformational effect on the mind of the people, so that together we could create heaven for ourselves on planet Mother Earth in the shortest possible time. As far as science is concerned, they acknowledge that India's contribution, especially ancient India's contribution to science, has been very profound. We all are aware of it. Make no mistake that the power of mathematics, which is today creating the capabilities of the kind through scientific computing, are based on the binary system, and that owes to India. Likewise, the power of even language, which Dr. Ramana Sastri informed you. When I was in University of Birmingham, I came across a book written by a professor from Oxford University, which talked about impact of Sanskrit on world languages, not just the languages here in India or in European languages, even impact on Chinese, impact on Arabic language, impact on languages far and wide was in fact not only described, but the research papers, hundreds and thousands of them available at that time, were all summarized in that book written by scholarly people around. We have made profound contribution to technological development also. My friend Professor Upadhyay knows very well that goddess Sita was created out of an earthen pot, and that was hidden far off in the fields away from the palace, not just the test tube in which you are protecting it in your laboratory. Therefore, the kind of capabilities they had in biological sciences and biotechnology were of the highest order. All the Pandavas were, in my opinion, tailor-made human beings. They were created by defining what characteristics you want. You want Bhima, who should be able to throw 100 elephants like a football like this. So you want a man with the capabilities and power of 100 elephants being thrown up in the sky to such an extent that they go to outer space. Now, these are the kind of capabilities. Look at the capabilities of the kind which the Pandavas had and the people during the Mahabharata time had. They give us the glimpses of the highest levels of stem cell technology of the kind which really was prevalent at that time. You may not get today all the books of science which they were practicing, but we could build up the whole reservoir of profound understanding of India's ancient science, wisdom, and translate that into tomorrow's technologies and science which we require for our own well-being and benefits. Same is the case with metallurgy, same is the case with shipbuilding. Same is the case with the medicine and surgery and the layers of science which they really unearthed at that time. I ask you the last question, that had it not been so profound, how could it be India was the golden eagle of the world? How could it be here that the highest levels of prosperity existed? How could it be that here that people were not poor at all? How could it be that they were celebrating life every day, 365 days of the year, and in fact living and working in the company of divine and ultimately going back to Godhead by profound understanding that we have come, we are the children or sons of eternity, and we have a right to return back to eternity. However, we have to ensure that the purity remains the hallmark of that eternity, so that we are not in a position to push back again into another life and continue to suffer thereafter. My friend, I have many more things to talk to you, but realizing that the time is limited, also being a student of science and engineering, heading a technological university, it would be wrong on my part to decipher the profound wisdom of the ancient Indian Vedic Sanskrit literature in front of the scholars who understand it much better. Let me finish by saying that I make a proposition before you, and this proposition is that Dr. Pandey, coming from a great institution, I know Maharaja Gaikwad himself was associated in founding this institution of Indology at University of Baroda, and make no mistake, it was Maharaja Gaikwad who attracted Maharishi Aurobindo to come to Baroda and spend his initial years in India, and thereafter emerge as one of the greatest rishis from his motherland, India, and therefore this institution is very important. You're doing a great job there. We want to support you, we want to work with you. But the proposition we make that you should create a group within your institution or within this organization by which you are able to decipher the profound wisdom of India, ancient India, contained in our vast Sanskrit literature, involve the people who are practicing science. And I'm happy that my friend on the left-hand side is a great science scholar, but alongside with great Sanskrit scholar, so that when we decipher the ancient India's wisdom from the context of science and technology, our friend from science is able to catch and capture those vital glimpses, and our friend from scholarly aptitude in Sanskrit is able to put us on the track correctly. Let me finish by presenting before Dr. Ramanath Sharma my interpretation of the Srashti Rahasya Sutra. I don't know, I'm sure you must have all heard about Srashti Rahasya Sutra. This is basically assigned to Agastya Muni. And by looking at it, as I said, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but look at it from the point of view of science and engineering, and you with the knowledge of Sanskrit which you have, which I also possess because I studied Sanskrit up to my pre-university levels, it reads like Yavai Shar Dhul. Yavai Shar Dhul. Now, a person like me will underline the word Dhul, because Dhul means dust. Much easily understood. Khandit pada mandit pandito dand. Khandit pada. Khandit means making pieces. Khandit pada mandit pandito dand. Pandito dand means somebody who is supervising with his scientific keenness and observation, because he is a pandit. He is perhaps the person who will be able to with perfection divide into pieces the matter. Yavai Sardhul Khandit Pada Mandit Pandito Dand Yuv Bayo Vradhi Samradhi Tol Tula Tula Yantre. Now underline the word Tula Yantra. Tula Yantra is your physical balance. So using a physical balance, you are dividing a matter into two equal parts under the keen observation of a Pandit who knows that accuracy levels which are required in division have to be maintained all the time. Now once you keep doing it, Yavanik Kakesh Buddhibal Kodand Saptasya Prashankha. Now that's where I underline the word Saptasya Prashankha. Saptasya, Sapta means 7. Saptasya means, because Sanskrit will, Professor Ramanath Bharat will inform me, Saptasya Prasankha, not Sankhya, Prasankhya. What do you do with prasankhya? Saptasya prasankhya. And for a very long time I was turning this side, that side during my night hours only to understand what saptas prasankhya mean. I may be wrong, but I have interpreted it as 7 multiplied by 7 raised to the 7 multiplied by 10 raised to the power 7, which means 7 crore times. 7 multiplied by 7 raised to 10 raised to the power 7. You have to keep on dividing this matter in 2 equal parts. 7 multiplied by 10 to power 7 times, 7 crore times. And once you do this, what will happen? It has to come to an end at some point. So the next line says, Yabojwal Nikhanda. So once you keep doing it to this extent, it becomes Nikhanda. Nikhanda means you can't divide it any further. You can't divide any further. And once you can't divide it any further, you have reached to that level of existence, which is Yavojwala. Yavojwala is very important actually context here. Today we are talking of photon. And photon is a matter which has no mass, only energy, but it glows. So it glows like the light of 1,000 suns. And that is Yavojwala Nikhanda. It cannot be divided further and it glows. Khand Baje Narmandal Mandito. Because when you write in literature, you make it really interesting. So they say it's like putting a star here and it glows its light far and wide, cannot be divided any further. It is to that existence the matter reaches. Now, then it becomes yo vant akshara. It becomes akshara. That means it cannot be destroyed. Not only it cannot be divided, it cannot be destroyed. And once it becomes akshara, it attains its existence, what it calls Isthir Mool. Isthir Mool means it attains that levels of stability for existence that it can never become unstable also. Now, if you look at Akshara and Isthir Mool, this becomes synonymous to what you call immortal or eternity. Something which cannot be destroyed, something which cannot be divided, something which retains its Purna, is what exactly a matter becomes at that level. And the last line of this mantra says that this is how the Devatas perceive the existence of this creation. Which means the secret of creation lies in perceiving this vast diversity through what we today call nanoscience and nanoengineering. Dr. Ramanath spoke the word which was Sukshma Darsvi. In fact, in Kathopanishad, one of the dialogue between Nachiketa and Yamaraja is that you must pay greatest attention to Sukshma Darsvi. And that's where I think you begin to see the finest of the fine existence of this world. And that is where I think the concept of Purna and our clarity of understanding the oneness of creation becomes quite visible. I read it out to you because it's important for people of science and engineering to join your organization and work with you to decipher those jewels of ancient India's wisdom and create their relevance for the modern society. Ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to once again express my profound gratitude to the organizers of this international conference for giving me this opportunity to be with you this morning and to share some of my thoughts on this very important topic which you have chosen for this international conference. Let me also wish you all success for your mission by which you are able to echo the wisdom of India at the international platform as well as nationally here to create a society which will be tuned to the higher objectives of human existence and create the layers of prosperity unprecedented without sacrificing the context of happiness and a disease-free society which is our birthright at the same time. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience here.
I am very much thankful to Professor P.V. Sharma to giving a very thoughtful speech, and in fact this serves the objective of our conference. So, being a technologist, scientist, he is also a very good scholar of Sanskrit, we can say, or at least he has very nicely interrelated both Shastras, scriptures, as well as modern sciences, various fields of sciences, modern thoughts. So, what was my mind when I thought this, I selected this subject, that I must present an interdisciplinary topic, but only selecting the topic is not solution. The main thing was that I kept in my mind, suppose that I take any word, Aham Brahmasmi, one word of the Aham Brahmasmi of Indian literature, that is very famous and common. Then, what is the relevance for the modern science? This is the important. And if we say that this is a very important subject, Brahma is everything, then you have to prove. Proof is only not say that this universe is created. How you can your science, in your scientific research field or your studies, that term is more beneficial on taking that thought, you can more advance your science. Either it is the artificial intelligence, biotechnology, physical sciences, or any sciences, any kind of sciences, what is the relevance of these type of terms? There is one very great scholar, I talked to him on the telephone, by email, and he is near about 80 years old. What he stated, he is a Russian scholar, Denis has come from the Russia, and he knows he very well, Mikhail Gorbachev. What he states regarding ancient Indian scriptures, that if we take one alphabet from the Vedas, that is the mathematics. Each and every word, phonemes, is the mathematics. Not word, phoneme is the mathematics. And he has presented so many papers, so many research work in taking the Vedic thought in modern mathematics. And he is the presenter, he will present in not on mathematics, his topic is different, but that is quite interesting. That's why he has come from very far to attend this conference. So now, I just request to our President to give presidential address.
No, this is all right. No problem. I'll just speak of 2 minutes. Professor P.V. Sharma, the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technology University, Professor Ramnath Sharma, Dr. Nath Pandey, distinguished delegates. Really, first of all, I must congratulate Dr. Pandey to have this international conference on this very pertinent topic, the ancient Indian wisdom and modern world. And I'm not an expert really in talk, but we have heard very distinguished speakers. We have seen a scientist and an engineer, Professor Sharma, his exposition. And I should also tell, this is not only this is what he has said about the Sanskrit, about his Indian wisdom. He is actually founder, vice chancellor of 2 universities. One, of course, in Bhopal, another one here, which has seen the transition from a Delhi College of Engineering to the Technical University, and all what it involved, and the way he has managed this transition. We have Dr. Ramnath Sharma, a Sanskrit scholar, and all of you here. So I'm not going to say anything on these, but just few things. One thing I kept on thinking, when we talk about ancient, we have to put some time frame. What really ancient? Which time frame we say is ancient? What is this? We have to, because always a timeline has to be there for ancient. Do we say 5th century before is ancient, or what is ancient? Second thing, when we think about what Professor Sharma also touched upon, there are a lot of things in Ramayana, a lot of things in Mahabharata. We talk about technological advancement, we talk about Viman, Pushpak Viman, we talk about in Mahabharata the cloning business. People at the moment, they may say they are all myths, mythological, or somebody's hallucinations, imaginations. But let's think a little bit on these things. Maybe they are imaginations, maybe we call them scientific fictions, but friends, scientific fictions has to have some basis. You can't just have an imagination without anything, without substance. There has to be something. And only thing what has happened, that during this period, which we talk a transition from ancient, that many of things which somehow remained as a sort of imaginations, or lot of just in the writing or in discussion point, we had not proceeded further. We always talk about India scientifically in the ancient time has been great. We talk about we produced great mathematicians. Of course, we also talk about that we have been great in terms of abstract thinking. We talk about wisdom, we talk about philosophy, and of course, I still say, and when we talk about the Indian philosophy, the ancient philosophy, there is no parallel in the world like this. Think about the time frame we talk about. Time frame, the deepness of the philosophy, and in the time frame, this is unparalleled thing. But this is for all of us what has happened. We have a Department of Philosophy in Indian universities. We have a Department of Sanskrit in Indian universities. In a philosophy, you go, hardly you will find. I have visited many universities as an act. I know in majority of the universities, the emphasis, the philosophy is the Western philosophy, not of the Indian philosophy. This is our irony, one thing. Second thing, we should also emphasize Sanskrit. People get a degree in Sanskrit, MA Sanskrit. They get a PhD in Sanskrit. They write a thesis, PhD thesis in either Hindi or in English, not in Sanskrit. You hire people in Sanskrit, they can't speak Sanskrit. Is it we are fond of saying the Sanskrit is a dead language, as you know, so we can just read and we cannot speak. This is another fallacy. We have a department of foreign languages. The interviews are done in English, in those languages, but in Sanskrit, the interviews are only in English or in some local languages, not in Sanskrit. This, of course, I did when I was in Baroda as a Vice Chancellor. We made sure the Sanskrit appointments, the interviews have to be in Sanskrit. Because at least, let's look at it, what we are doing. Because if maybe there is a section of scholars who learn Sanskrit, at least our knowledge which are accumulated will not be lost forever. Of course, we have a lot of English translations now. The few more things I should, because after these two great scholars, I will not like to venture much. But there is something in our psyche also. What has happened? We always talk about we are great in the abstract thinking. Of course, this is what has happened. This is the truth. And we are also solo players. We are not a team player in science. Because what has happened in abstract thinking, that's how now we are great in IT, and then when in the technology where we don't see anything. We just have the abstract thinking. In terms of team players, Indian science now at the moment at a juncture that we require a team players. We don't require a solo players. Of course, when we talk about our ancient things, Ayurveda or other medicine, other things, many of the things which have been tried, these are basically experiments. Experiments must have been done. Not experiment the sense we talk about present day science, but somebody must have tested things. And that's what they say, these things, these medicines work. And there is a basic knowledge behind. And knowledge, but somehow, we at the moment we are not great in these. And this, I give you a very small historical example of this, what happens. And like history, they write about the Alexander and Porus fight. What has happened? Alexander did not have a great army. Porus has a great army. There's all lot of things. They have a horse, they have an elephant's army, there's infantry and so on. But each one was fighting separately. There was no coordination between these. Elephant battalion, they just entrapped in the mud, and nobody else came to their help. And that's how the Porus left. And this is somehow ingrained in our substance, that we are good. We are good as a solo players. We are not good as a team spirit. And only thing, of course, is not this, but somehow we have to change this concept, because I don't think we were ever like that. But somehow it has happened. Anyway, this good opportunity, and I will again like to thank Dr. Pandey for this, organizing this conference, and I would like to wish this conference a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Upadhyay, for giving a very brief note, presidential address. Regarding these three dignitaries on the dais, I want to correlate with our conference. First thing is that there are two terms in science, macrocosm and macrocosm, antah and bahi. So, what is the macrocosm or macrocosm? Whatever the things, those are subtle, sukshma, that comes under the purview of the microcosmic element. So, those elements are visible from the microscopic instrument, that is the micro. So, I want to say that there are so many things which are not visible, even the microscopic elements. So, what about those things? What about those things? Their validity is there or not? So, this is the doubtful in the Shastras also, or as well as in science. Shastras cannot explain it. Gunanam paramam rupam na dishtim patham lichyati, dishti patham tu tat ayati tat maeva satuchakam. Whatever is the absolute is not visible. So science, even the science cannot give the clarification about those things, and even the Shastras. So, but annam vai prana, anna hi prana hai, life is the important. So, Professor Upadhyay is related to the life science, and Professor Ramanath Sharma, Anumudya Vijnanam Sarvam Sabdena Bhasate, or Nahi Sabdena Kaschit Jnanam Api Sadrisham, Sabd ke whatever is the expression, whatever we feel, either in science or in Shastra, that can be expressed only through Shabd. So, Sabda is the important, and then there is the technology. Technology is the movement, even the Sukshma is there, Anta is there, Anta Sharir is there, Bahya Sharir is there, but when there will not be life, there will not be life, and life, who gives the life? That is the technology, science and technology, that gives movement. So, in the Sankhya also, Satya, Guna, Raj, and electron, proton or neutron in the science. These three things are there. These must be correlated and we should study in that direction. So now I give thanks to Professor P.B. Sharma for accepting our invitation as a guest of honor, and then I very much thankful to Professor Ramanath Sharma who has come very far away to attend this conference, to accept our invitation to give a keynote address, thoughtful keynote address. Then Professor K.C. Upadhyay to accept as a president, act as a president of this session. Thank you to the audience, those who have come from the very long distance here to attend this conference. Very much thankful, and after this all are cordially invited for the lunch that is ready. And one small announcement. 5 minutes instruction is there. If any have any doubt, any want to ask any question, you are welcome. You come here.
हाँ है सर ऑन.
Sir, this is question to you on the right, Ramanath Sharma. You have introduced one word, Shabd, and you said Shabd means utterance. This is very interesting, and you perhaps try to evade the whole knowledge which was moving around that. And I understand because of time consideration, perhaps you did not explain the whole thing. But I think this is a very important thing. When we start a Shabd and we make so many meanings of it and we go on thinking it. So how it originated? For example, Jal, and we say, वो आदमी जल गया, और दूसरा कह रहे हैं मैंने जल को पी लिया, और तीसरा कह रहा है अरे मेरे से जलते क्यों हो. अब तीनों के अर्थ भी अलग हैं और शब्द वही का वही है. यदि अटरेंस ही होता तो मुझे लगता है कि दिस वुड हैव बीन ए रॉन्ग कॉन्सेप्ट. सो देयरफॉर वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट हाउ द वर्ड कम्स, एंड इफ यू से इट इज मियरली अटरेंस, perhaps it will not be a logical one. Kindly explain to us how the word originated and how it was getting manifested in so many languages, and even in one language it was having so many meanings. So, thank you.
This is a very difficult question you have asked. The thing is, I am a grammarian. Even from the point of view of a grammarian, the word is different than from the point of view of the philosophy of language scholars. For example, Bhartrihari. So you have on the one hand Bhartrihari, on the other hand I am the grammarian. So the utterance are shabda that as a grammarian I can identify it as under the control of vivaksha, the vaktum ichha vivaksha. So whatever you desire to speak, then you speak. Patanjali in the Paspashanika, he has raised this question, what is this word Shabda? And then he goes through series of explanations where he negates, for example, he takes the symbolism of the cow, go. So go nityam ka Shabda. What is this word go? तो वो कहते हैं कि वो सींग, खुर, पूंछ इत्यादि से युक्त जो है वो गऊ है.
या उसका निमिषित है, उसकी एक्टिविटीज हैं, वो जो है वो काऊ है, गाय है, या फिर ये जो बहुत वो या तो गुण है, क्वालिटी है, तो शब्द जो है वो क्वालिटी नहीं है। तो वहां जब आप जाइएगा ना, तो अंत में वो धीरे से कहते हैं कि भाई गाय, ये जो शब्द है, गौ शब्द है, इससे ककुद खुर विषाणी नाम प्राणी नाम, तो जहां ऐसे प्राणी के अर्थ का बोध आपको होता है, वही जो है वो शब्द है। तो वही जो वो अटरेंस है गौ की, तो उससे इस तरह के अर्थ का बोध आपको होता है, वही शब्द है। मूलतः व्याकरण का शब्द, वैयाकरण का शब्द जो है वो यहां से शुरू होता है और यहां तक समाप्त हो जाता है। हम बोलते हैं और वो जा करके आपके कर्णकुहरों को हिट करता है और व्याकरण का शब्द वहीं समाप्त हो जाता है। उसके बाद जो है वो स्फोट है, प्रतिभा है, शब्दबोध है, मेरा विषय नहीं है। तो मैंने पद को, शब्द को अटरेंस जो है वो बहुत सावधानी से किया, क्योंकि व्याकरण का पद जो है उसके साथ आप शब्द को कंफ्यूज ना करें, क्योंकि व्याकरण जो है वो तो कहता है, आचार्य कहते हैं सुतिंगंतम पदम, तो सुबंत है और तिंगंत है, वही पद संज्ञक होता है। तो वहां पद है, क्या आप शब्द को पद मानेंगे? ये कठिनाई है। दूसरी कठिनाई जो है वो फिलॉसफी ऑफ लैंग्वेज में जब आप चले जाएंगे, भर्तृहरि में चले जाएंगे, तो वहां जो है वो बड़ी फाइन लकीर खींची हुई है वाक करने के लिए। और मैं तो पश्चिम में रहता हूं, और पश्चिम में जो है वो शब्द जो है वो वर्ड है, और ये इतना खतरनाक है हम लोगों के लिए जो लोग शब्द का अध्ययन करते हैं, तो उसके माध्यम से आप उसको एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकते। इसीलिए मैंने सहारा लिया है। आप अटरेंस से आपको कोई आपत्ति हो सकती है तो मीनिंगफुल अटरेंस कह लीजिए उसको, लेकिन यही सबसे करीब हम पहुंच सकते हैं उस शब्द के जो शब्द हमारा एज ए व्याकरण अभिप्रेत है।
Sir, it's a really very powerful session, thought-provoking, sir. I have two queries, sir, not question. From Sharma Sahab. Sir. Hello. Sir, do you think, sir, any sort of panacea in our traditional wisdom regarding the earthquake and some sort of natural calamities we have gone through or not? Is there something or not, sir? First, sir. दूसरा क्या? दूसरा भी सवाल. The second question from Mr. Sharma. Sir, when we coin a word, what is the first meaning during that time in a mind? चलो पहले आप.
हाँ, पहले मैं जवाब दूं. ऐसा है कि व्याकरण जो है वो शब्द को क्वाइन नहीं करता। भाष्यकार कहते हैं महाभाष्य में कि कश्चित कुंभकार कुलम घत्वा आह कुरु घटान कार्यम अनेन करिष्यामि, कि किसी घड़े वाले का कुम्हार के यहां गए और जाके उससे कहा कि भाई घड़ा बनाओ, इससे मुझे कार्य करना है। इसके बाद तुरंत भाष्यकार कहते हैं न तद्वत् यह शास्त्र, शास्त्र में ऐसा नहीं होता है कि कश्चित व्याकरण कुलम गत्वा कुरु शब्दान कार्यमानेन करिष्यामि। तो वहां मैं आपको ये स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं कि जो आपने प्रश्न पूछा है क्वाइन, हम क्वाइन नहीं करते वर्ड्स को। आचार्य ने सूत्रों का वो फॉर्मुलेशन किया है, सूत्र बनाए हैं, वहां भी उनकी दृष्टि नहीं थी। वो उनका अर्थ इको यणचि सूत्र से ही के स्थान में यण होता है, अच परे रहते ये आचार्य कहते हैं। तो आप ये कहेंगे कि ऐसा देखा जाता है। कहां देखा जाता है? लोक में। इसीलिए वैयाकरण जो है वो शब्द को प्रमाण मानता है। किस शब्द को प्रमाण मानता है? जो लोक में जो है वो है। वैसे ये है कि वो कहते हैं कि सृष्टि जो है वो प्रमाण है उसके लिए। लेकिन देखिए सृष्टि की परिभाषा क्या है? ये लोग ऋषि थे, तपस्या थी, सृष्टि में भी तपस्या थी। जब तक आप तपस्या नहीं करेंगे तब तक विद्या का ज्ञान, विद्या नहीं होगी। विद्या नहीं होगा तो आज लोग जो है वो विद्या यशसा भूयते की बात करते हैं, विद्या तपसा भूयते ये भूल जाते हैं। तो भाष्यकार कहते हैं वहां पर कि एक तस्मिन् आदिदेशे ये ब्राह्मणा कुंभिधान्या अलोलुपा अगृहमाण कारणा किंचिद अंतरेण कस्याचित विद्या पारगा तत्र भवन्तः शिष्टा। कुंभिधान्य है, अलोलुप है, अगृहमाण कारण है, किसी एक विद्या के पारग है, ऐसे तत्र भवन्तः जो है वो शिष्ट है। ये बड़ा कठिन रास्ता है, इतनी आसानी से हम आपके प्रश्न का उत्तर नहीं देते। विवक्षाधीन है, बुद्ध्यारूढ़ जो जब आपकी इच्छा होती है बोलने की तो शब्द आपकी बुद्धि के आरूढ़ होता है। इसी ही वैयाकरण बुद्ध्यारूढ़ शब्द कहता है। और बुद्ध्यारूढ़ जो शब्द है वो ध्वनि के रूप में जो है वो आता है सामने, सार्थक ध्वनि है, वो यहां आती है और उसके बाद जो है स्फोट होता है, प्रतिभा है, शब्दबोध है, वो विषय नहीं है। धन्यवाद।
Let me quickly answer this. Just half a minute only. You asked, sir, that is there a panacea to ensure that earthquake and natural disasters of the kind which devastate this beautiful world do not occur? Is there anything in our ancient wisdom? The answer is yes as well as no. The answer is yes, because by cultivating righteousness and purity, you may give a signal to the Creator, sir, allow us to run the show and maintain this beautiful world, because you have created it and we are here supporting your cause of sustainability. On the other hand, if we don't cultivate purity and righteousness, then don't think that nobody is watching us. Anyone you created, me and you, had the upper hand in running the show. He intervenes only when there is a critical mass is attained in terms of what we call entropy or happenings around this world. When that criticality surpasses, then of course interventions take place. So we can avoid it. I can assure you, if the mankind behaves the manner in which a man is supposed to behave and conduct himself, God Almighty would not throw his curse through the natural disasters of the kind which have become accustomed to. This is the position. And you can look at what the noble souls have said about this. One of the Nobel laureate is on record to say that don't undermine the power of divinity. All the power which we have created around the world is no match to the global divine power which descends on this planet. And therefore, surely the upper hand is somewhere else. You can avoid it. That's the point.
Time is not allowing us to speak anything, but only I will give the thank of the international committee, our international committee, that will take half minute. So I just international planning committee, I am very grateful. Thank to Vijay Gupta, Dr. Vijay Gupta, fellow emeritus and professor, University of Colorado, and then John Reed, MD President, World Institute for Scientific Exploration, MD USA, Indira Bhatt, MSW faculty, Rocky Mountain Institute of Yoga and Ayurveda, USA, and Murali K. Srinivasan. Actually, these names, these persons have taken too much pain for this conference. They are giving giving email frequently, daily. At least 50 emails I am receiving from these persons. So whatever I am standing here, they are a very great contributor. And then regarding the international collaboration, Padma Shri SKM Melandham, Joint Managing Trustee, and then Vethathiri Maharshi Kundalini Yoga and Kaya Kalp Research Foundation, Aliyar, Tamil Nadu, and then Nishita Bakshi, Director Programs, Give to Asia, San Francisco, CA, USA, and Ramesh Kumar, MS, IT Consultant, Boulder, CO, USA, and Krishna Ramesh, IT Consultant, Boulder, CO, USA. These personalities have given the assistance in transferring the fund for the webcasting. So their great contribution, we cannot forget their contribution. So now our session is over and all are cordially invited for the lunch. And before going to lunch, I just request to the participants of the first and second plenary session. First plenary session will be in the room, second room, and the second is the hall. And those participants are there. If they are having PowerPoint presentation, then please submit to the Abhishek. Abhishek is there, and then so you can submit your soft copy to him. He is there to come here. All your soft copy. If you want to present PowerPoint, then you give him immediately, and we will. And please come for the lunch.